want to harvest what God has in store, we have to harvest right? If we've been praying for peace in our homes and we want the harvest of peace, okay, what we've sown matters. Okay, and I'm going to jump a little bit back and forth, and I'm going to focus on how we harvest here in a second, right? But if you want the harvest of peace, what are the seeds you need to sow today? You need to sow the seeds of maybe just like shut your mouth, right? There's a seed that's called shut your mouth. How many guys know that if you planted that seed of shut your mouth, you'd have more peace in your home? How many guys say yes, no? No? He's good? You can wink at me. You let me know. Give me the signs, right? Either or, right? Right? If you want the harvest of peace, you need to sow the seeds of shut your mouth. All right? How about in your health, right? Some of us, we set as resolutions for this year to maybe shed some extra pounds, right? So if you want the harvest of good health this year, right, you need to sow the right seeds. What are the right seeds for health this year? You know what? It's the same seed. It's the shut your mouth seed. Did you get it? If you want to have a harvest of health, some of y'all just need to sow the shut your mouth seed there too. Look, it works in all aspects. Okay? If you want the harvest of finance, right? What do you got to do? You got to start the project. You got to start the thing. You got to throw the seed. The idea that God has put into your mind, you got to start it. Otherwise, you'll never harvest it. If you want the seed or the harvest of restored relationship, guess what? You have to take the first step. Let me give you a tip. Forgiveness is one of those first steps. Begin to ask forgiveness of those that you're trying to restore in, right? Otherwise, you'll never see the harvest. Now, if you missed the past 2 weeks, go back and watch them online on YouTube or Facebook. Doesn't matter, but get them because they're important for the harvest. I wanna focus today on 4 things that we need to do to receive the harvest. If you're a note taker, I got you because I got 4 bullet points, right? How many of you guys know note takers? We need bullet points. If you don't give us bullet points, when we look back at our notes afterwards, we're like all confused. What happened? 4 bullet points I'm going to give you today. The first one is, if I want to harvest right, okay, the first thing you have to understand is that we must receive the harvest diligently. Write this down. This is not going to be rocket science, and it might not be new, but it's going to be new to you. And if it's not new to you, it needs to be renewed in you because there's harvest that we need to get. Right? So the first thing we need to do, we must receive the harvest, what? Diligently. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 5 says the following. He who gathers in summer is a wise son. He who sleeps in harvest is a son who causes shame. How many guys today, how many of you today can say, you know what? There have been seasons in my life where I was expecting something and I was right there, but I got caught sleeping. Has anybody been there? Nobody's ever been there? Some of y'all not old enough to be there yet? All right. Guys, let me put this another way you'll understand. How many guys know that you've missed an opportunity because you were not ready for it? Okay, does that sound a little bit better? Like you missed, it was right there and you missed the opportunity because you were not ready for it. You got caught sleeping. One of the phenomena of this year, I'm a sleeper. I'm like those of you guys who really surrender to the bed in the evening night and in the morning night. And so I've been battling. And my wife will tell you, man, you've been really getting up early this year. Why? Because I can't sleep no more. I've been asking God to help me be intentional, but I can't be intentional if I can't first defeat the bed. You understand what I'm saying? Like if I don't get out of bed in the morning, this is a problem. So there's things in our lives where we've got to learn to not get caught sleeping on. We've got to learn to be diligent. How do we be diligent? Well, we need to recognize when the harvest is ripe and take action. We need to learn when the harvest is ripe and take action. I told you from the standpoint, we'll call it the parable of the avocado, right? If it falls to the ground and you don't get it right, it's going to go bad. If you pick it off too early, it's going to be bad, right? But when you get it right, it's going to be right on time. And there's certain things that require action in the moment, and in your life, there's certain things that require action in a season. Okay, let me explain. Sometimes you just have to be right on it, otherwise you're going to miss it. Mark chapter 4, verses 26 to 29. And Jesus said that the kingdom of God is as if a man should scatter seed on the ground and should sleep by night and rise by day, and the seed should sprout and grow. He himself does not know how, for the earth yields crops by itself, first the blade, then the head, and that the full grain And after that, the full grain in the head. Verse 29, but when the grain ripens, what's the word there it uses? Immediately he puts it in the sickle because the harvest has come. Immediately he puts in the sickle. Again, I said it. If you get it too early, okay, there's a lack of maturity. Things have not gotten where they need to get to be able to grab the harvest. If you grab it too late, what happens? It's going to be rotten. You miss the opportunity, right? There's things that you got to understand that in order to harvest right in your life, you've got to use the ability that God has given you, which we call discernment. You've got to figure out, hey, this is the time that I've got to take action. The only way you're going to know whether it's a time to take action or not is you've got to be in relationship with God, hearing God, seeking God, and you've got to be reading His Word so He knows that this is what it's supposed to look like when it's right. For example, not in my notes, but if you are looking to get married, men, young men here, if you're looking to get married, you have to understand this. It says in the Word of God that he who finds a good wife finds a good thing, not he who finds a young, immature girlfriend. You got to find yourself a good wife. Do you understand what I'm saying? And while the maturation processes happen, you can be good friends. And that's all right. Because if you pick it too early, it's going to be bitter. If you pick it too late, it's going to be rotten. Hello. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, and we're only going to know that by getting into the Word and seeking His face and seeking His direction. Okay, there was a time, is my wife in the room? No, she left? Okay. Oh, dang, she's here. All right, well, whatever. Babe, I didn't ask your permission, but I'm going to tell it anyway. It's not a bad thing, because the end of the story has been written. But can you imagine for a moment that there was a time that our lovely Pastor Laura almost broke it off with your Pastor JJ? Like, can you even fathom that? Like, I'm like, did you even know what you would have missed? Like, there's just no way. I can't even imagine what it would be like. But there was a time as we were dating and being friends and getting to know one another, where because of the pressure and the dynamic of the situation, outside family members, mothers-in-laws, fathers-in-laws, and just whatever. Because of the pressures of life, she didn't think she could withstand the relationship much longer because of the pressures that were coming in. Aren't you glad she did? I'm just saying. Right? The reality is, there was a moment, I kid you not, it was like a bad movie. I think I might have shared this at one point over the past 3 or 4 years. It was like a bad movie, like a bad romance. Right, we're sitting there, we're hanging out in the park, and it was like a lake park, and we're like out on like this little pier out in the lake. It was so nice, right? And then she's telling me, I can't do this anymore. And I'm like, why? And she's like, there's too much pressure, I can't handle it. This is my version, right? Clearly, if you ask her, she's going to tell you a different version. But I'm the one preaching, so my version counts. Just like if she tells you that we planned to wear the same shirts today, no, we did not. I told her last night what I was going to wear, and she woke up and put on the same shirt. Just saying. Whatever. So she said she couldn't do it anymore. And so you know what? I said, all right, I'll see you later. And I started walking off. Like, picture in your mind the slow violin and the slow music, right? And I'm walking away. I'm going back to my car. And something in me says, that harvest is ready. Like, no. No, I've been putting in too much work. There's been too many seeds planted in this one. I'm not letting this harvest go. And when I get to my car, I said, no. This is how it was in my head, okay? Ask her version. It won't be as good as mine, but whatever. I said, no. I will not go out that way. And although I turned around and started walking back, just picture me running back in slow motion. It's better for the purposes of the story, right? Right? And in my mind, when I got back there, I said, I'm not giving up on this relationship. I'm not sure if those were the words, but it was something like that. I'm not giving up. And in my mind, we hugged and we jumped around like in the field, right? It wasn't a field, but in my mind, that's what happened. But what happened? Why did I tell this? Because I had been putting seeds in there because somebody had asked me, what are your intentions for my daughter? I was like, whoa, slow down, bro. I was just trying to date and hang out. But when he did that, he's like, do you mean to marry my daughter? And I was like, oh, whew. This conversation went from 0 to 100 very fast. Because I was just trying to take her to the movies and stuff, you know what I mean? Marry, whoa. And in that conversation, the seeds started planting, so I started throwing intentional seeds down with intentionality of a future relationship. And when she said she couldn't do it anymore, I said, oh no, we're gonna do this. And I turned back and there's the movie and it happened, and the rest is story. 20 plus years later, I love her more than I loved her on the first day. I'm more confident about my decision today than I was the day I said I do, believe me. If it wasn't because God said she was the one, I was still a little nervous about it. But I knew that was the one, all right? What am I saying? If I did not take time to immediately pick up the harvest right then, who knows what would have happened? Are you hearing what I'm saying? There are times where you have to pick up the harvest. Maybe it's not in the relationship side, but there's been times where in business, I'm a businessman as well, and there's been times in business where I know I've missed the boat. Because I wasn't ready. I've been working hard, and my failure to recognize the season allowed me to miss the boat. And I didn't pick up what I needed to pick up. Are you hearing what I'm saying? We've got to be diligent in picking up. We have to not only take action at a time, but we have to take the right action at the right time. All right? There's things that only last for a season. If you think about it in the harvest, there's things that pick up and maybe only have a few days of fruitfulness, of viability. But then there's things that might have a season, like, hey, you have a summer to get this done. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, hey, what your season's at. But whatever your season's at, you have to get it at the right time and before the season goes. Because when the season goes, what happens when you have seasonal crops or seasonal harvest? As soon as the season shifts, as soon as we go from fall to winter, what happens to those crops? They wither up and die. You've missed that opportunity. So the seeds that you've sown, you no longer can collect now. So what do you have to do? You have to plant some new seeds when the time is right, and you have to wait for the next season. I don't know about you, but I don't like to wait on the promises of God. I'm okay to wait on them. But if God says the promise of God is for this season, I want it in this season. This is not false humility. This is God has prepared something for me. I want it now when He's prepared it. I don't want to be the one that, like I just read in Proverbs 10:5, that falls asleep when it's time to get the harvest. Hello? I don't want to miss that season. Some of us are too old to keep missing seasons. Hello? Like, we don't have many more seasons left. We got less seasons in front of us than we do behind us. We don't have the luxury of missing those seasons. And those of you guys who have a lot more seasons in front of you than you have behind you, guess what? Learn to harvest diligently. Take action, and the right action when you have to take action. Does that make sense? Don't wait for another season. You're going to lose time. You're going to lose produce. And here's one thing that I've learned. If I lose time and I lose produce because I did not pick up the harvest when I was supposed to, there's people who were supposed to eat off of that harvest at the same time that are not eating off of it because of my lack of diligence. Are you hearing me? Let me put it in practical terms. If you don't get your butt out of bed early enough in the morning to get on time to that job you've been praying for, you're going to be fired from that job you've been praying for because of your lack of diligence, because you failed to harvest what you've been praying for, and now those that depend on you for the produce from that income will not eat off of what they're supposed to be eating for. You got to harvest diligently. In short, don't screw it up.